Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Columbus Metropolitan Club. CMC connects people and ideas through community conversations at forums just like this one nearly every week. I'm Doug Buchanan, Editor-in-Chief of Columbus Business First. I'm also a proud member of the CMC Board of Trustees and Chair of CMC's Editorial Board, the Program Committee. We're so grateful to today's sponsors, the Carol A. McGuire Legacy and Civic Engagement Fund, which supports arts and culture. Carol, stand up and take a bow. Let's have a hand for Carol. And the Greater Columbus Arts Council. We have several members on here today. How about a hand for the Greater Columbus Arts Council? Our live stream sponsor today is the Center for Human Kindness at the Columbus Foundation and the Columbus Dispatch, and we also want to thank the Ellis for hosting us. Every CMC forum takes a village. Let's thank everyone for supporting today's program. Okay. Today, we are talking about the arts. Columbus is more than lucky. The city is home to a vast array of performing arts organizations that bring vibrancy to Ohio's capital through theater, dance, ballet, live music, and much more. While audiences are filling events, funding remains a challenge with deep uncertainties around public funding that are driving arts organizations to build innovative partnerships with each other and supporters. Today, with key leaders, we're honored to host CMC's first ever State of the Performing Arts. It's my great honor to welcome our panelists. Please welcome Stacy Board, CEO of Shadowbox Live. Regina Ann Campbell, CEO of the King Arts Complex. Daniel Walshaw, Chief Operating Officer for the Columbus Symphony. And Chad Whittington, President and CEO of the Columbus Association for the Performing Arts. And our host, Jamie Goldstein, Chief Creative Officer for the Greater Columbus Arts Council. Jamie.
Thank you so much, Doug. And good afternoon, all of you. I see so many friendly faces out there. I know many of you, not all of you in the audience, and just thank you for joining us today. I know many of you are familiar with the Greater Columbus Arts Council, but for those of you who may not be, GCAC is Central Ohio's primary funder of the arts and arts organizations and artists, and we produce this little thing, shameless plug, called the Columbus Arts Festival, June 6th, 7th, and 8th this year. Our festival director here, Alexis Perone, is working shamelessly. We have 87 days left. I have to thank the City of Columbus, Franklin County, the Ohio State University, and the Ohio Arts Council for our funding. We could not do what we do without them. GCAC's primary mission involves grant making and the support of our grantees. Last year, GCAC invested nearly $23 million right back into this community. Thank you, yes, that's awesome. We made these investments through grants to artists and arts organizations working in 7 disciplines. We round these up to 7 broad categories: visual arts, literary arts, fashion, film, dance, music, and theater. It's those last 3 disciplines that are often referred to under the umbrella term performing arts. And it's those disciplines and the venues that support them that we're here to talk about today. Now, I'm going to just deal with the elephant in the room. Some of us may ask why we're talking about this art stuff when there are so many other critical challenges facing us as a nation and a city. Those of us in the arts are very, very concerned about these issues too. They directly affect our constituency of artists and the employees at arts organizations. Artist issues are human issues. Homelessness, mental health, social service support, all of those things are incredibly important to us. But we also know that the arts intersect with every aspect of our lives, and they support every area of our community. The arts are part of the solution for the challenges that we now face. The work produced by arts organizations and the outreach that they do in our community helps us make more resilient and healthy, drives economic success and tourism, and brings shared purpose to our lives. The organizations joining us today and all of our Columbus arts organizations and artists are essential threads in the overall fabric of our community. So we're going to spend some time talking with our panelists today about exactly what that means, where the performing arts are today, and what their vision is for what's next. I'm going to start with a soft one, and I want you all to answer this. In a word, how would each of you define the state of performing arts in Columbus today? I'll start with you, Stacy.
Well, I would say that right now, we're very, very lucky. Shadowbox Live, we are coming out of the pandemic very, very strong. I think for theater in general, when I'm on calls with my colleagues on the national level, so many of us have talked about how the fact that it took us longer, there was a longer runway to come out of the pandemic than we expected. And we are coming out of that, and there is light at the end of the tunnel, and the future is very, very bright. The audiences are coming back, but there has been a lot of creativity to understand on our end how to meet the audiences. Buying trends have changed. Audience, what they want has changed. So being open to that and understanding how to meet the needs has been really critical.
Open is your word. Yeah. Regina?
Hi, everyone. So, my word, and y'all give me some grace because I've been in this role as the CEO for 5 months, 12 days. And so I'm going to kind of say I'm new and take the liberty of 2 words. Open excitement. I say that because Columbus has a rich performing arts community, and at the King Arts Complex, we do a variety of different mediums. It's open to everyone, and we have the excitement here in Columbus, but I think it's quiet, and that openness that we have, we just need to spread it more, so across not only the city, our region, the state, and then around the country as a destination for arts and culture.
Agreed, 100%. Daniel?
Yeah. I think for me, the word I would choose is relevant, that the arts really matter. It matters in our daily lives, it matters in our evenings when we go out. It matters as a way a city expresses itself. And I feel now, I've been here for 8 years in this community, and now more than ever, the arts are really connecting to people in unique and fun and growing ways. And that's something special for this community. That's something special for Columbus.
Regina had a great word, exciting, and I think that sums up where we're at. I'm going to build on that a little bit. We've got, it's exciting time to be in Columbus. We've got great growth here, population growth, and that means we in the arts get to think about exciting things. How do we grow our spaces? How do we grow our programming to meet the needs of the community? And you see groups starting to take risk, and I think that's exciting as well, because that's how we grow as a community. That's how we improve the creative industry we've got here in Columbus. My word is we're able to do all of those things because we're stable. And I know that's not universally true, but if you look over the course, I've been around here a long time now, in the arts world in Columbus, and we spend less time talking about financial crisis than we used to. It's not perfect yet, but certainly the funding, the GCAC cultural fee, for a lot of us has made a big difference. And when you're spending less time worrying about how you're going to pay the bills as organizations, you can spend more time on saying, what can we do that's creative? How can we expand ourselves? How we can reach out to the community? And I think we're seeing a lot of that right now.
Thank you. I love all of those answers. Some of you have touched on this a little bit, but Columbus has an incredibly collaborative arts community. I would go as far as to say that competition doesn't really enter into our vocabulary. Collaboration has been sort of infused into our DNA, and I think this is something we take for granted because it's not true in every community. If you travel at all, or if you have an insight into other communities, you'll know that there's a lot of competition out there. And so I know I feel very blessed that we have this incredibly collaborative community. From shared administrative services to joint advocacy efforts to cross-use of venues, you guys all collaborate so much in the community, both with each other and then also with organizations, schools, social service organizations. Pick one example, if you would each pick one example and share a collaboration that you're most excited about or that you're very proud of. I'll start with you. Let's get Daniel.
I'll go first. I'll steal it, Chad. I think the collaboration is kind of the soul of the Columbus Symphony. It's when you bring a bunch of talented musicians to a city, it's natural that they want to participate with as many different arts organizations as possible. And I know our friends from the ballet are here and the opera are here. And recently we had the privilege of doing one of the most amazing things that I've experienced here in Columbus, which was our big collaboration with West Side Story, which also included CAPA. And I know a lot of symphony colleagues around the country, and this type of collaboration does not exist anywhere else. And for us to all sit around a table a year ago and say, you know what, we're going to do this crazy idea. And to Chad's point, because we're stable, because we have stable funding from GCAC, we're able to dream big and take on these really big, challenging things and bring them together and bring them to a city like Columbus. So that's one thing that we're very proud of, and we're only looking forward to what's next.
West Side Story was amazing.
If I could just add to yes, and we have a saying, coming to Columbus has been really great runway, I like to say, coming and having a GCAC. I come from a world of economic development, and we had what was called New Economy Initiative, and having a core organization that brings us all together and resources us is huge. It's allowed me to be able to come in, meet partners, do events and programming together for the community that we serve that oftentimes won't have access or aren't informed about what is out here. And so the collaboration is key. I've met somebody today that I can potentially collaborate on a play to bring the King Arts Complex. So again, it's very key, and I'm thankful to GCAC for bringing us all together. It's great runway.
Thank you.
I'll go. First of all, I will echo the collaborative nature. It's amazing to have colleagues where you can literally text them and say, hey, I have a question about this, and can you help me out? And I know that is unique to our community. I'll talk a little bit about social services, partnerships. I think it's really important that people understand that artists, we solve problems. Like, that's in the fabric of who we are. And a couple years ago, I had a patron who asked for deaf interpreted services, and I went about it the normal way. And as I looked at it, I thought I could make this so much better. Like, if I could just get my hands on them for just a couple hours, I could make this so much more entertaining. And so I approached CCA, Columbus State Community College, and said, hey, would you like to start a course with me where we teach American Sign Language for the artistic endeavor, where we're teaching them how to move with the music, how to adopt the characters physically, so that even if you are not deaf, you're actually watching it and are able to automatically understand who that character is representing. And it has been absolutely such a beautiful, rewarding program. Not only are we teaching the next generation of interpreters, but those interpreters are now the teaching artists for the upcoming generation of those students, as well as just expanding our ability to serve that community.
That's amazing. I learned something today. I didn't know about that partnership. That's great. Chad?
We got very specific instructions when we started about how to hold the microphones. I just want to tell my colleagues, you're doing a great job. I've been watching. I talk to my peers from all around the country, and I talk about some of the collaborative things we do here in Columbus, and they look at me like I'm crazy, because there's things that just could not happen in other cities. And I think we should be really proud of the fact that we can do that. I think that makes us a great arts community and means we can do things that other cities can't pull off. It's hard for me to name just one example for CAPA because we do so much. We create a Christmas Carol each year with Short North Stage. We're working with the Symphony on Harry Potter movie that's coming along soon. West Side Story. We work with the community on things like the Marquee Awards that Amy will forgive me hopefully, but I don't know the exact number, but 20-some schools are a part of that every year. Little Mall, which we did with Department of Neighborhoods and other community organizations a little over a year ago. So, collaboration is part of what we are, and I think as the owner of the buildings that so many people are a part of, it gives us a lot of opportunity to collaborate. So if you're out there and you need a partner on something, come and talk to us, because we get better as an arts community when we expand ourselves and we work together. West Side Story was such a fantastic example of that, and certainly can't be the last.
Thanks, you all. So it's not all sunshine and roses. You've heard some really great examples here, but we know there are gaps. And there's gaps in what we can do with the resources that we have. The ticket fee that City of Columbus passed in 2018 went a long way towards addressing what our organizations can do in the community and within their organizations. I'd like to hear from each of you, what do you feel is are the most pressing gaps today in the performing arts?
I'll start with that one. There are still communities out there, groups of people that we need to do a better job of reaching, and we're all aware of that, and we're trying, but it's really grassroots efforts in some of these cases to reach folks that might not feel like in the past they've been welcome into the theaters or welcome to the programming that we're doing. A lot of great work is being done on that front now, but I think we can't lose sight of that no matter what is going on and within the country and some of those conversations that don't necessarily line up with what we're trying to accomplish. This is a growing community, it's a diverse community, and we need to make sure we're doing things for everybody. And I think that's really super important. That's something we're going to stay focused on no matter what.
I would say I'm concerned about the gap with arts education funding. As we all know, that's one of the first things to get cut. And it's so important to be certain that we are exposing these younger generations to the arts, not only to grow the next generation of arts appreciators, but also to help some of these students understand that college is not necessarily for everyone, and to make sure that they understand that there is a career path that they could follow if maybe the college is not an option for them. And it has become actually, our education programs have actually become a workforce development. 25% of our ensemble has come up through our education programs. So I think it's important for students to know that there's a variety of different ways that you can pursue your passions.
It's just one more example of sort of a disconnect. We know that 90% of Americans support arts education, and yet it is often the first thing to get cut. Regina?
And building on what's already been said, I think the biggest challenge that we often face, one as nonprofit leaders, is funding. In acknowledging that priorities shift, markets change, we're clear on that. And we also know that there is disposable income to support the organizations. The biggest challenge is how do we get individuals and donors to invest in the organization and in the arts. For as many people who attend and engage in the arts, aside from the tax that we have, which was a tremendous feat for us, people are donating to colleges, churches, and other places, but not necessarily investing in the arts. And so how do we sort of change the narrative or that sort of mental switch to say that it's worth it? It's worth it to invest in it because it has an economic return on investment. But for me, mostly, and why I've been in this work for decades, is it has a social return on investment that data quantifies to a certain degree. We talk about the mental health and wellness that it does for us to listen to music and just a variety of things and see art and see ourselves, right? And then there's careers. All of us started with art. I don't know how many of you, when you were a little parent, gave you a crayon and paint, and that starts our creativity and continues to innovate us. And so we have to shift into investing our dollars into arts and culture organizations. Corporations can only do so much. Philanthropy can only do so much. And as we're during this time with taxes in the federal government and things like that, the individuals across this country and in our state can really help sort of source us and bridge some gaps.
Yeah, that's great. The World Health Organization just did a study recently that says that $1,200 worth of value annually is given to people who engage in the arts, and so there is those intrinsic benefits. Daniel, did you want to address that?
I'll just dovetail. That was really beautiful, Regina, and because we're a fast-growing city. We all know that. We all recognize that. But there are plenty of examples of cities that have grown fast around the country, like Phoenix, that their arts community did not keep up with the growth of the city. And are we a city that's ready to keep that pace? Are we a city that's ready to invest in the arts? And as Regina said, that's corporate, that's private philanthropy, that's the city continuing to invest through GCAC and the state through the OAC. And that's a gap that we want to grow, CAPA wants to grow. We all want to grow and serve our community in more ways, serve our children in more ways. But that comes down to funding, and that funding has to keep pace with the arts with the growth of the city.
So I'm going to stay on the funding discussion because, and we'll sandwich this hard stuff and this not so pleasant stuff in the middle, and then we'll get back to some fun stuff. Obviously, many arts organizations, some of you have referenced this already, have serious concerns about funding, particularly from the federal level and potentially the state level. Fortunately, in Columbus, we have this safety net from this multi-source funding that we get from the ticket fee, the bed tax, and county support, and that enables GCAC to invest so much back in you guys. So a few questions related to funding. What are you most concerned about? And you can touch on DEI here because I know that this is part of the answer for many of us about funding for the arts on the federal level. And I'll just say, this isn't just NEA funding, National Endowment for the Arts funding, this is also Department of Education funding, which just slashed jobs, right? And so lots of our organizations have grants from multiple sources. So let's talk about concerns on the federal level. First, if you want to bring DEI into that, please do.
Nobody wants to talk about funding.
Don't make me call on
Can't we
you.
just talk about Picnic with the Pops or something fun? Yeah, I mean, can just continue. I think, when we look at the Columbus Symphony, half of our annual budget is made up of philanthropy, and that's private and corporate and government funding. And as uncertainty abounds in the country, we worry about all the pressure on all those levels that, how are corporates feeling right now? How are individuals feeling right now? Are people holding on to their money more? And all that feeds out from the national level and what's happening nationally in politics and on the news and what's just hitting you on a daily basis. And that's something we have to be concerned about, but at the same time, find ways to stay true to our mission. Like our job is to bring inspiration and joy through our music to our community. And as Chad said earlier, what GCAC has done through its increased funding has given us a sense of confidence that we can do this and we can weather whatever storms come our way and come out the other side, still providing amazing music for our community.
Time do I have for my response? No. So the biggest concern for me, it starts with people, right? And so my biggest concern is for our elders and our children who are impacted by education cuts and other financial cuts. We typically, as adults and creatives, are able to innovate and find something different. And so when we think about kids and our elders, really worried about them from a people perspective. Secondly, the dollars that are made available for arts and culture, as well as capital dollars, is so important. Again, you made a very important point that Columbus is growing, and most successful cities that we've seen around the country grow because they also have arts and culture environments. And in order to sustain and attract, retain talent, and bring new people, we've got to have a sound foundation in arts and culture for people to come to an experience. When we all take our work hats off, and I'm in arts and culture, we have so much fun, you want to be able to go to places where you can not worry, not have some stress, laugh a lot, dance, and all the things that performing arts can do for us from the inside out. And it also helps build community. So the dollars are important. From a DEI perspective, this is my take on it, and I'll give you some examples. Excuse me if I'm using a couple of y'all minutes. Maybe 15 years or so ago, the conversation in my workplace, working in a tech place, was bringing in DEI experts who really couldn't explain what it was in the first place. And everybody defines it differently. The one thing is that it is impacting a lot of folks, from disabled to our elders. And we really have to think about it in a different way, continue to do the work to serve, because we're serving a community and we're serving the same people, quite frankly, right? Regardless of the label. So I think the concern of how people understand what that means or choose to get caught up in what that means versus continuing to do the mission, I think it's really key, because our kids are going to be impacted and our elders are going to be impacted. So that's my biggest fear, the people piece, and how people are leaning into this DEI and making really just abrupt decisions versus doing due diligence around what is the best path forward, what do we do, what do we stop doing, what do we put a pin in. But people are just reactive, and that's causing, I think, more harm than not.
I think that, yeah. Regina, I just want to really quickly, a couple things. Yeah, the reaction and that reactionary thing, it's really hard because so much is coming at us every day, but the encouragement to be thoughtful, to pause, to really think about this. DEI has become a critical part of our missions in the arts. It is not something that we can abandon, nor I don't think any of us are planning to abandon. Stacey.
I was just going to say, art is a reflection of many. And if to do our jobs, we have to make sure that we are protecting the diversity of our community. And I think that also includes, fostering the programs that are also reaching those diverse audiences as well. So there's so much work still to be done, and I don't think any of us plan on changing any of that.
Good. Chad, does CAPA want to talk about federal funding?
Why not? Great answers here, and I agree. I think keeping our eye on the ball and doing the good work is the most important thing. A lot of irony in this first statement. Fortunately, most of us don't get a lot of direct federal funding, so this doesn't have a big impact on us. But it does impact. I talked about risk-taking earlier. I talked about it stretching programming, and the loss of NEA funding, or the uncertainty maybe is a better word around NEA funding, limits the ability to take risks. And I know I saw Christy Farnbaugh here. Contemporary is a great example of that. They're doing something, Fat Ham. It's never going to be on the Broadway series. It didn't tour. It's an important play that needs to take place here in Columbus. And they got support from the NEA, a $10,000 grant to make that happen. Those sorts of things need to happen. We need those works to take place in this community. And that's just one example, right? You think about other examples in Columbus and all around the country of these opportunities that might not happen, at least in the short term, because people are worried about if they're going to get the support they need, even support that they've been promised. And so I think it does have an impact on our communities, even if it doesn't change how we operate, kind of on a day-to-day basis. That operating support from the country isn't there. So that's why I think we have to continue to find ways to press ourselves. We need, maybe in the short term, the community to step up and help us take risks, help us do that programming that might not sell enough tickets to support it, but we need to have it here in Columbus. I like to say a lot, if we're talking specifically about Columbus, I like to say people should be able to see anything here that they can go to another city to see, right? We're behind if people feel like they have to go to Cincinnati, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, any other city to see a work of art or see some genre of art that's taking place. That should always be our goal, to be one of the premier Midwest cities in terms of what we offer. So I need to continue to make that happen, even if in the short term it's without the support of the NEA.
Thanks, Chad. I think Regina made a good point, too. It's not just the loss of direct grants, potentially, but it's the erosion of the support system overall, Medicare, social security, education. So, we all need to be watching and speaking our part about what's happening on the national level. Now to a little bit happier side. I have to ask this question. What has the increased funding from GCAC enabled in the past few years, primarily thanks to the ticket fee, enabled you to do that you could not do previously?
Well, I'll start.
Oh, everybody's jumping to this question. I love
We
that.
got capital dollars, which will allow us to renovate our second floor. Our classrooms were outdated. Now they're going to be the state of the art, including lighting, and you all know how lighting is important. So the renovations are going to be key to be able to do great, phenomenal programming more, have opportunity to lease our space in ways that people haven't experienced it yet. And so that's key. The other thing, too, is I was excited that they're going to be having a capacity grant for us. As nonprofit leaders, our teams are very lean. And when it comes to professional development, having capacity dollars to help us move things forward is really, really key. So that's helped us. And I've only been here 5 months, 12 days. Look at that.
Yeah, I will sing to the high heavens on this. For the majority of Shadowbox's history, we did not accept grants. So I know the power of this funding, and it literally is transformative for our organization. And the recent funding has allowed us to increase our compensation and benefits for our artists, and which is critical to be able to provide these artists a living wage. You know, the producing theater model, the regional producing theater model is a broken business model. And we here in Columbus are really trying to debunk that by providing artists a steady income, an annual income. They're on payroll. It's not a gig working. Typically, the administrators are on the full-time salary and the artists are gigged in and out depending on the show. Well, because we create our original art, we need those artists year-round and available to us to create the art that we present. So it's really important for us to lift the financial strain so that they know that they can pay their rent, that they have some benefits to fall upon. So this has been transformational for us. Additionally, the capital, amen. So the capital grant that we got, we were able to transform our front space, double the seating capacity, increase a stage size so that we now are able to seat 99 people. We have an increased stage size. We're able to serve more artists. This is a community performance space. So not only are we able to serve the community of artists that are up and coming, they don't have to scrounge around trying to find a place to hone their art. They can come to Shadowbox. They can present their art. They can learn from it. And we get increased earned revenue to help us continue to do what we do. It is a win-win situation. Amen, GCAC. Thank you so much.
All right, I knew this was going to happen. We only had like 10 questions, and I knew we weren't going to get through all of them. I have one more question before we start to move to the live audience questions. And I wanted to talk about economic development, but hopefully, and the economic impact that the arts have, but hopefully we'll get to that somehow in the questions. One of you guys, that's your charge. So I want to end on a high note because we have lots of great things coming. So even though we have lots of worries coming at us every day, I want you to each share a recent success and then something that you're looking forward to in the future. We'll start with you, Chad.
Well, we already talked about West Side Story, but I think that's a really important recent success. So I'll take my time to talk about what I'm looking forward to. In the short term, the Marquee Awards is an event that we do every spring at CAPA. So think about the Tony Awards, except for local high schools here in the Columbus area. That's a great event. It doesn't matter if you've got a kid in school or not. Coming to that event and seeing the excitement of all these students, some of which get to perform on the stage of the Ohio Theater, where great shows like Lion King and Hamilton and Wicked have been. The excitement, I always suggest to people, wear your earplugs because there's a lot of shrieking that takes place. And, but it's such a great night, and I think an example of what we're trying to do in terms of reaching out to kids and giving them opportunities that they would not have in the community if it weren't something that we were doing. So in the short term, that's what I would suggest. It's a cheap ticket price, a cheap night. Come out and see it. Long term, the church project, I know a lot of you are aware of that, the old Central Presbyterian Church on 3rd Street, just south of the Bricker Building. We're really excited about that. We hope to start demolition on that. The Sunday school in the back, not the main church. We're not tearing that down. Later this year, we've raised 10 of 14 million. Of course, the last couple million are always the hardest, but that's what we're working on. But For CAPA, that is super exciting because it allows us access to programming that we can't do right now. You think about our spaces with sloped floors and fixed seating, and you're always looking in the same direction for the stage. This will be, think about a church with a big open space. It'll be a flat floor. We'll be able to move the seating around, take the seating out, do standing room concerts. So I talk about reaching new audiences. This allows us, gives us a space where we will be able to bring in programming that reaches those new audiences at a very affordable ticket price. So we're excited. Again, hopefully start construction this year, 25, and have it open sometime in 27.
I'm not going to point to one specific success, but kind of a broader success of our organization, that we right now are experiencing unprecedented growth in our audience and our attendance and our engagement. We're up 23% in our ticket sales and attendance right now. When I started 8 years ago, we were doing 80 to 90 programs a year. Now we're averaging 250 to 275. And none of that's by accident. I've got 2 tables of the hardest working staff that I've ever known in my life, and I just love them to pieces. They know that. And I think all of that growth, and we're also averaging 300 new households for every single concert that we do, which points to this growth of the city and the excitement around the arts and what's happening in Columbus and what's happening downtown. And for us, that points towards what I call the worst-kept secret in Columbus, which is the Columbus Symphony's goal to create a transformational new music venue that is going to be impactful to the entire arts community. We're working very hard with our partners, CAPA, but we're also working hard to bring in as much of the arts community as we can into this project so that it becomes something that everybody can touch and everybody can feel like is part of their future. So that's what we're excited about the Columbus Symphony, and we're just thrilled that we can live in a city and exist in a city that dreams big and acts on big things.
So I would say 3 things. First, the Martin Luther King Day that's every year. It gets bigger and bigger. Last year was 8,000, this year 10,000. The diversity of the young people and parents who bring their kids is amazing. So those events, they continue to be staples for the community. Second, want to build on what we've been doing, that is great, but also bring opportunities to partner with others around performing arts to bring into the King Arts Complex that the community hasn't had access to, and get exposure to our young folks. Bring diversity, which Martin Luther King stood for, so we'll be working with, our board members from, Dr. McDaniel to many others about Martin Luther King and what he stood for. He stood for the moments that we often talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, quite frankly, that we've lived before DEI was a term. And so we'll be leaning on those by having conversations, having art and theater to express that in ways that people can build relationships and come out of it from the inside out. We had our first, which I'm proud of, intergenerational mixer. So everyone from our baby boomers all the way to our Gen Zs, and we had a couple little alphas in the room. And so wanting to do more events and activities and programming that bring us all together. So in times like these and moments like these, we build friendships and relationships. And so we stick together as we continue to grow and have one Columbus and its pride. We'll be doing more renovations, as I spoke about as well, so that we can have more attendance and participation inside the venue. Looking forward to the Heritage Music Festival that brings out thousands and thousands of folks along the way. So more renovations, you're going to see more community conversations and education happening inside out. The diversity of what Martin Luther King stood for, you're going to see it, and we're going to represent that.
So before Stacy goes, I had I had one job, and I screwed it up. And that was before that final question to let everybody know that we're about to take questions. So we'll give Stacy a chance to respond, but I'm going to give everybody a chance to line up if they want to ask questions. Please remember that a question ends with a question mark. And we'll take in-person and live stream questions from the audience. And if you have a question, please make your way over to the microphone. Doug is waving in the back of the room right now. And if you're joining us on YouTube, please type your questions into the chat. So Stacy, what are you most excited about?
I'm excited to keep doing what I'm doing here in this amazing community. I think it literally just still blows my mind. I have been doing this for 37 years. Yeah, that's crazy. But not only do I get to do this in the community that I love, I get to do it with people that I love and I respect so much, not only with my artists, but with my colleagues and the partnerships that I've generated. I am just always blown away that we have the opportunity to generate 8 to 10 new shows every single year. That's unheard of. 8 to 10 new shows every single year. And people come out and see it. They have no idea what they're going to see. And they come out and see it. And they take that chance with us. What a beautiful thing. And what a testament to this community that they support innovation like that. And so I'm blessed to do what I do. We had our best opening weekend that we had in I don't know how long with Rock This Way. Van Halen and Aerosmith, come check us out. It's amazing. We'll rock your faces off. But I'm also very excited. We are premiering a new show called Millennium, a 2000s musical that is authored by 2 of our younger writers. It's their first time to write a musical. And I think it's important because they are authoring their own narrative. And so we're very excited to support them, and we hope you guys will come out. That will premiere in June 5th. So thank you.
Fabulous. Let's have a big hand for our panelists. Thank you so much. Now, Doug Buchanan is going to curate the questions from the live stream audience. For those of you with us here in person, please join Doug in the microphone. Doug, what's our first question?
Jamie, thank you so much, and thank you to today's panelists for a great conversation. Yes, please do come join us here at the microphone. If you have a question, we'll try to get to as many as we can. I'll launch us off with this one. Chad mentioned that the potential loss of NEA funding might not impact CAPA directly. Would others in Central Ohio, or I guess around the state, be impacted?
Well, sure. I talked about it on a project basis, so absolutely. Examples like the contemporary one I used. I'm not sure, I'm not aware of anybody in the state that gets consistent year after year operating support from the NEA. Thankfully, a lot of us have local funding mechanisms like GCAC here in Columbus, and then obviously the Ohio Arts Council, so the state budget provides state support. So we've got a bunch of our colleagues from around the state over here, Creative Ohio board meeting this morning, so I wanted to shout out to you guys. Anybody get operating support from the NEA? Nope.
But the OAC gets operating support from the NEA. And so we don't yet know what the trickle-down effect of all of this is going to be. And they are critical to our funding support system for all of these organizations and everyone that we fund at GCAC.
So just to add on that, the thoughts that I have is from whether it's local government, who's getting those federal dollars that are given to us as sort of the pass-through. I think that we don't know yet. So
right.
that unknown is a concern, and we could be hit in those ways, but from the community, from social services and those type of programs that are primarily funded with federal dollars, including early childhood, early child care and things like that, education, that's going to be concerning and impact the whole community.
Thank you all. I'm Kathy Fox with Community Strategy Partners. I'm also a board member with the Contemporary Theater of Ohio, and wanted to just follow up on Chad's remarks. We learned this morning that a local business, The Kitchen in German Village, is going to fill the gap for the loss of the NEA $10,000. They also, thank you. They also are issuing a challenge to the community to match those funds. This is our 40th anniversary season, and we have a lot of work to do to get the next 40 years of contemporary theater in Ohio to happen. My question is, what do we need to do in the light of the big pushback? Is it all going to be community funds that have to solve this problem? Are we no longer going to have a national recognition of excellence in the arts? Thank you.
I really think it's too early to know. I think we've got to keep doing the good work, not overreact like somebody said earlier. Part of creating uncertainty is to slow things down. I think that's somewhat intentional, and I think we've got to try and avoid slowing ourselves down until we see how all of this shakes out. So I just think that's the most important thing. We keep doing the good work, and when we see actual tangible effects, which certainly are positive, not only are possible, not only directly, but a lot of the trickle down that Regina was talking about. In a board meeting I was in this morning at Creative Ohio, we talked about education funding school funding. We know that arts are often on the chopping block if education funding is impacted. How are we going to step up and respond to that? But I'm just worried we have the potential to react too quickly or overreact and limit our impact before we really know what's going to happen here. I mean, you think about it, we're only, less than 2 months into a lot of the craziness that's taken place. So keep doing the good work right now.
I absolutely agree with that. And I think for those of us that have been in the arts for a long time, we have been riding a wave for decades. So I think we need to understand that, we have been very fortunate to be resilient, and we do have to just kind of wait to see what happens. And, I am a firm believer that if a door shuts, we're hoping that we will be able to see the blessing in the problem and see what other partnerships or opportunities might present themselves to help fill in the gaps. That's what we can hope.
Hello, my name is Jody Engel, and I'm a teaching artist, and I do a bunch of stuff. But I grew up doing theater, and I always say that theater saved my life. And to this day, I still try to stay active right now in the amazing improv scene that's here in Columbus, taking classes, et cetera. My question is so one more line. The older I get, the more I see the different ways that theater has helped me and continues to help me. And I've had all kinds of jobs, from event planning to teaching to strategy. I think, Stacy, you said earlier it's about creative problem solving. So my question is, when we think about the arts, I know that we have patrons, and that's very important. I'm wondering about kind of when we do the advocacy at the state level and local level to the legislative body, what are the talking points of all the other things, the critical thinking skills, all the different things that the arts do, and in this case, the performing arts. What are those talking points, and who are we saying them to? And, there's a difference between, we're not trying to make everyone an artist, although we could have a conversation about everyone is an artist, but it's more about, look at all the different things that your students, your community is getting, et cetera. What are those talking points? Is that something that's come up, besides economic development, which is very important, to helping, blah, 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 question mark.
Well, I'm going to get the conversation. I really wish Sarah was up here, who is the executive director of Creative Ohio, to speak to this. But I will just say, from personally, obviously, teaching empathy, presenting ideas in an entertaining way so that people can hear it. Sometimes, you're not going to read it, you're not going to understand it, but if you see it in an entertaining way, you're able to approach something that's maybe uncomfortable and maybe able to see something from the other side. I don't want to dismiss economic impact by any means, because sometimes the numbers are what talks, right? And for Columbus alone, one of the things that was recently discovered was that within Columbus, 29,000 jobs come from the creative sector. And when you combined the creative and the for-profit and the nonprofit sectors, that's responsible for $7.8 billion in Columbus. So it's not optional. It is essential. And we are teaching the kids, and we are helping the community social services. So that's what I would say, which is very uneloquent, and I apologize, but that's just from the heart.
I think it's also important that we see the arts as a unifier in our community, that we're not, there's a lot of stuff out there that divides us, there's a lot of stuff out there that we can disagree on, but coming to a performance, coming to a museum, being a part of that is a shared human experience. And I'll give 2 examples of the symphony, and I guarantee one of them is going to make some people uncomfortable, or both of them, I don't know. You know, last year we did one of my most favorite programs at Picnic with the Pops we've ever done. We had Nas with the Columbus Symphony. It was unreal. It was the most diverse audience I've ever seen out at a concert. It was packed. He had such a great time, he ended up taking our conductor on the road with him. And it brought people together in ways I haven't experienced. And that spoke to a certain part of our community, and we were able to do that. And when we program Picnic with the Pops, we look at it and how can we reach as many people. And my other example is in 2020, one of our partners is the mayor of Somerset, Tom Johnson, who sadly passed away recently. We were out during COVID, getting out, performing outside as much as we could, trying to reach as many communities as we could. And Tom invited us and had the orchestra play out in Somerset. And I promise you that we can't really fact check this, but this was the single most Make America Great Again hats at an orchestra concert you've ever seen. And it makes me proud. Like, we are able to be a unifier. We're able to bring people together. We are able to bring different people, different groups together as the performing arts, as an orchestra, in ways that I don't think a lot of other industries can. And it's something that we should be proud of, and we should be proud of all the communities we reach. And that's a message I would take to legislators or political leaders.
We have 3 minutes left. We'll take a final question.
Good afternoon. My name is Patrick Nugent. I'm the president and CEO of the Dayton Performing Arts Alliance. I'm here with the board of Creative Ohio, which is your statewide arts advocacy organization. Around the state, we've looked with considerable interest and maybe even a hint of envy about the tremendous progress in the performing arts here in Columbus. It's really terrific to watch and to see what you all are accomplishing. I was delighted to hear about your collaboration around West Side Story. I was very sad to hear you say that you thought that was the only community in the country where that could happen. In Dayton, the ballet, the opera, and the Philharmonic are part of a single integrated organization working together towards a single shared purpose. And our 3 artistic directors collaborate in this way 7 or 8 times every single year, where 2 of the 3 art forms, or all 3, are on stage together. It's just a matter of course for us. So we congratulate you on this kind of collaboration, and wonder what sort of future collaborations are you thinking about in terms of the major performing arts organizations.
Can I put a whole orchestra in Shadowbox Live? Is that?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I said this earlier. You know, we thrive as the Columbus Symphony when we're working with our partners, and whether that's with Sue and at the ballet, and Julia with the opera, or CAPA, or you know, we do an annual concert in Ash Cave in Hocking Hills every year now with our partners at the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. We are always, and then and I think Stacy did a great job of touching on this, we have a huge amount of social service agencies that we work with on a regular basis, and education groups. So collaboration's just in our blood. It's what we do, and it's what we thrive on a daily basis. We're dreaming up some big stuff. We'll get there. If anybody there's a suggestion box in the back if anybody has any requests. But I think it's an ongoing mission of ours to be a part of our community and be a partner well with all the other arts groups that we can.
We've got big anniversaries coming up for our theaters. The Palace turns 100 in 2026, and then the Ohio and the Lincoln in 2028. They wouldn't be open and thriving without a lot of the groups that use those theaters. So there's going to be a lot of collaboration over the next couple of years. We don't know exactly what those are yet, but we're talking about them. At West Side Story, we were getting the question about what's next, so it is on our minds for sure. A quick shout out to all the staff, CAPA staff in these rows, but I know there are a lot of staff from all the organizations out there. Appreciate what you do all the time, but especially now with all the uncertainty and everything that we're all working through. There's a lot of great work that's going on in the arts, and it wouldn't be without a whole lot of people that are sitting in this room working on it each and every day, so thank you.
And a big thanks to CAPA for tending to all of our lovely historic theaters. Columbus has more than many cities, and many cities bigger than us. And so thank you for your wonderful stewardship. Thank you to our panelists today. Thank you to all of you. I am now going to turn over the podium back to the other Doug Buchanan for concluding remarks.
All right, and just a programming note, if you want to check out Rock This Way, it is till the end of the month. Heritage Music Festival is in July. Symphony has a celebration of Mozart this weekend. And if Mozart isn't your thing, the Palace Theater has a tribute to Jimi Hendrix going on this evening. So how about another round of applause for all the programming going on there? Also want to give another shout out to the Carol A. McGuire Legacy and Civic Engagement Fund, the Greater Columbus Arts Council, obviously, and the Arts Festival in 87 short days. Is that right? All right, we're looking forward to that one. Grateful to our presenting sponsor of our live stream, the Center for Human Kindness at the Columbus Foundation, our live stream partner, the Columbus Dispatch, and the Ellis for hosting us, and a very special appreciation to today's speakers, Stacy Board, Regina Ann Campbell, Daniel Walshaw, Chad Whittington, and our host, Jamie Goldstein. And now, please make plans to join us next Wednesday right here at the Ellis for All Amped Up, Can Ohio Meet Its Future Energy Needs, featuring another panel of Central Ohio leaders. Thank you, everyone. We couldn't do it without you. Have a great afternoon.